Yeah, this is a strange world in which you're talking to a machine. Well, earlier today I did a video about movies um, and how meaningful they are to me, and particularly how meaningful movie stars are to me, the way and ways in which they play a role in my life that is meaningful. I There's a part of me that feels like if I had another life to live, I'd want it to be uh, part of the world of making movies. And I'd like to think that I had the physical qualities and kind of charisma uh, that movie stars have. Uh, you know, somebody isn't John Wayne just by wanting to be John Wayne. And somebody isn't as handsome as Brad Pitt just by wanting to be gorgeous. Uh, the movie stars tend to be exceptionally good looking people, or at least certain categories of movie stars. Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston, that great fight scene in what is it called, The Big Country or something, uh, where Gregory Peck is the one we really identify with, and Charlton Heston's just a jealous, not particular. But anyway, those guys, Burt Lancaster, I talked about before, they're physical specimens of masculinity that, you know, Hollywood wouldn't cast me in some of the roles I'd like to play. That's what I'm saying. Uh, so when I think about making movies, though I've occasionally thought about how I'd like to be an actor. I mean, I was an actor in high school, but uh, it, it's not something that I would ever do great work in. I don't think, uh, no matter how hard I tried. But what Steven Spielberg does is closer to what I can imagine myself doing. Um, Maybe more into in the writing of a script. I mean, if you've seen The Fablemans, you know that this was a guy for whom putting the action on film um, was a part of his whole trip in life from a very early age. Not for me. There's storytelling that I feel more able to do because my mom was a storyteller, her mom was a storyteller, and I've done some writing that's essentially makes use of that. But I'm not a great storyteller either, actually. Um, so the policy, the position that I think I would be good at is a critique of the mistakes that people make in the script. That's what as I'm watching movies, which I do a lot. I'm continually saying, "Why would you do that?" That's not believable. There are other ways you could have done it that would have been, a lot better and stuff like that. But I also do identify with Steven Spielberg because I can see that with the camera and with his scripts, he's really trying to do some marvelous things and often achieving accomplishing his goal to an exceptionally large degree. My wife and I just saw his first successful film, which is called Duel, and it's got basically one actor, and it's as Ben Mankiewicz put it. The role of the shark from Jaws is played by this truck that's trying to run our protagonist, to kill our protagonist, run him off the road. And so, anyway, but I've seen some other much more mature works that Spielberg's done. I've seen most, I think, of what Spielberg has created. Um, I'm not sure how much of his initial genius vision is still alive. I mean, I've been very disappointed in George Lucas, who gave us those Star Wars movies, and then I think he just lost his way. But Spielberg gave us The Fabelmans recently, and that's not nothing. I don't know, I might fall short of saying that it was a masterpiece, but making masterpieces is difficult. And I think that that Spielberg swung for the fences a number of times and got good wood on the ball. For example, Schindler's List, which won Best Picture, dealing with the Holocaust in its way, with John Williams, as always with Spielberg, supplying the music that makes the movie even more haunting. And then also in the 90s, Saving Private Ryan, a meditation on war and killing and dying. I actually think that movie's got a lot of moral confusion in it. You know, I think philosophically, and I think I can smell that he was really confused there. But nonetheless, it's a great film. I mean, those opening 20 minutes, I'm not going to watch them a second time. War is hell, and I am afraid of spending much time in hell. But then there are a couple of other movies that I've seen in the last several months. One of them, Amistad, I just finished last night. It's a movie I was a bit afraid of. There's some footage in that I fast forwarded through. The murder of slaves at sea because there was too much weight on the boat, throwing 50 people. I used that when I taught American Studies 22 years ago or something like that. I had my students contemplate something about what that movie showed about slavery and contrasting that with what Gone with the Wind showed about slavery. But it's interesting that Spielberg made several really meaningful films, not necessarily complete masterpieces, but meaningful films about slavery. Amistad, about a group of Africans that end up having their case argued before the Supreme Court by John Quincy Adams. A wonderful piece of Americana. And then there was Lincoln with, what's his name, the My Left Foot guy, who in his last performance, he plays Lincoln. What's his name? You know his name. Great actor. I don't know why he retired. I mean, he's such a genius at the trade. But anyway, that was about passing the 13th Amendment because Lincoln wanted to get that passed before the Civil War got ended, because I think, if I understand correctly, the legalities of it, that the Emancipation Proclamation had standing only while there was a state of war. And so if they didn't get the 13th Amendment passed, as soon as there was peace, it would be no longer legitimate to withhold these slaves from their owners, from whom they had been requisitioned or whatever from the enemy during an insurrection. And the drama of how to get that passed. And Spielberg is showing a whole lot about America's problem with race as he does that. We got, at a whole lot of levels, you can see it happening in the all the characters and all the plot twists, and the nature of the argument on the House floor. Yeah, Lincoln is another one of those. Lincoln and Amistad, and well, there was a third one that he made, wasn't there? Well, it's not coming to my mind right now. But I can see Spielberg as like me, born in 1946, I believe, like me, having in his sort of cultural DNA this problem of injustice and racism and people's treating other peoples terribly with terror. I mean, there's a scene in Schindler's List that, I mean, people complain about Schindler's List not being, not dealing with the, you know, we're talking about the 1,200 people who got saved and not about the 6 million who were murdered. Well, that's true. Some things are just too big for the average mortal to bite off. We do get to see people completely innocent being murdered for sport by a sociopathic, somewhat crazy Nazi at a concentration camp who just fires at people as if they're just target practice. We get what's happening here. It's not too much to ask that we focus a little bit on the lives that get saved. Maybe we end with the descendants, the survivors and descendants of their survivors in Israel putting a rock on the grave of this man who starts out the movie being happy to hobnob with the Nazis, but ends up being called by his conscience to save lives. And with Amistad, you got somebody going to John Quincy Adams early on, and he basically tells him to get lost. And then we have Anthony Hopkins performing John Quincy Adams, making a speech that I actually am a little disappointed in this speech. I'm not disappointed in Anthony Hopkins, and I'm not disappointed in what Spielberg was trying to do with that speech. But again, philosophical argument is not Spielberg's forte. But he has brought us through in that movie to such a magnificent appreciation of the humanity of this particular African slave, a man named Sinke, and the interactions between him and the white people who are trying to save him in a society where there's all kinds of lying and greed and stuff like that. And the president of the United States actually puts his thumb on the scale to try to keep the slave power happy. Yeah, Steven Spielberg has given us some worlds where issues of justice play a huge role. I feel akin to him because I'm sort of a moralist also. I feel that he shares my thirst for decency, like when Schindler seizes the hose. These people are dying of penned by the overcrowded boxcars to be shipped to their deaths. And they're just starving for water. They're dying. And the Nazis are willing, at the station there, are willing to laugh at it. And Schindler seizes the hose. And he hoses down all these people again and again and again to help them not suffer so badly. And he puts his own life on the line by disobeying what the way the Nazis were going to have it. Openly, not the hidden stuff about getting Jews out of the clutches of the Nazis and into safety. Yeah, I really appreciate Steven Spielberg, who um, is so good at his storytelling that even if sometimes he may lose his way in some philosophical sense, that he doesn't leave us with a good argument that we can sort of take home and realize whatever it was that John Quincy Adams was trying to say to the Supreme Court about the decision in this case. And what it means that Matt Damon character, this is where the confusion came in, and he chooses not to be saved. Private Ryan chooses not to be saved. And he says, my brothers are these people that I'm here fighting with. I am not going to leave them with the Nazi army coming and threatening their lives so intensely. His brothers may have died, and that may be the reason why the War Department wants him saved, but he's not going to leave them. And then there's a whole bunch of confusion about how come Matt Damon survives, but the guy who went there to save him does not. I don't see, what kind of moral weight that put on the Matt Damon character. I mean, he stayed and fought, but anyway. But he makes one think about issues, about what matters. I think he's a national treasure. Is he involved in the Toy Story movies? It feels to me like there's that same benign spirit at work in those Toy Story movies. He's done just a whole lot of good work, and I hope he's still got something in his tank after the Fabelmans to give us, not just to sign on to some movie, but to bring us again through some important issues, personal and or collective, that are worth getting Americans to think about. God knows that we need to be thinking about some big issues here in America right now. I wonder what he could put together that would, maybe there's a 20-minute video he could create for this campaign season. It would be a creative challenge, but he's shown no lack of creativity over the years, and he knows. I know that he knows that the force that Trump represents must be defeated in this election. Maybe this genius of a storyteller through the cinematic lens can find a way to help Americans to experience this historical moment the way it should be experienced, so that the force of evil will not prevail. Thank you.